Oh,
that
right.
was alive.
I know we're a little bit late.
Oh my God.
It's the heat. I'm going to blame the heat.
Yes. I wasn't expecting to be live. But look, there it is. Just when you least expect it.
Wednesday night live. Hopefully
Yeah.
the other one didn't show up there. We had to restart the whole dang thing.
We might be on two different lives at the same time. Do you want water?
No, but you want me to go get some?
I will get it. You get started.
All right. Well, who do we got in here? There's no thumbs up. No crowds. No thumbs up. No nothing. Wonder what's going on here. Oh, Bill McKyska. Yeah. Nathaniel Menzies, Mike N, J. Russell Finch, Craig Chitto, Jason Finch, George Bonnie. George, what happened, man? You used to be number one all the time. Yeah, sorry, we got started a little bit late. We had set it all up, and then the computer wanted to play games with the camera. So I don't know if there's actually two lives up there right now. I have no clue. And then Tony's getting some water. So yeah, we're rolling. How you guys digging this heat? Tomorrow's supposed to be our first day over 100 degrees. I feel sorry for Mopar Owl on Hot Rod Power Tour. He's in Slaghammer. Slaghammer is probably retaining some heat.
It's tepid.
It's tepid in there?
No, the water.
Oh,
all right.
I can live with it.
Oh, okay. Here we are. All right. So who we got in here? Everybody.
Oh, there's everybody's.
Did you say hi to everybody?
I did say hi to everybody. I was rolling through.
Zero and Fubar.
Well, I didn't say anything to Zero, but it's
Zero's.
Well, Zero's the axe. Well, Fubar's the axe, but Zero is the top of the line kind of moderator, right? So
he's our spiritual guide.
Our spiritual guide.
Yes.
He's our spirit animal.
Yeah, he is. Right. Exactly. John Mouch, today was 106 degrees in Central. It's Florida. What do you expect?
And it's probably like 100% humidity, making like 115 degrees outside. Yeah, stay hydrated for sure.
The water's hot. Let's see. Well, pick a question, any question.
Okay, let's see. Jonathan Couchy says, Sunday, Tony, there is about 6 engine blocks. A guy near me is selling. Should I shoot him an offer on a 400 big block Mopar? Yeah.
Well, do you want a 400 big block Mopar? Because if you do, then I would say yes.
Isn't the low deck ones the like really desirable, best running ones?
I mean, arguably the 400 is the best of the bunch. It's got the biggest bore out of all of them. It has that really happy bore-stroke relation or rod ratio. I don't know. Yeah, if you want a big block Mopar, a 400 is as good as they get.
Well, Repport's the same. Do we have AC in that room? We kind of have AC. We have this part of the building is air conditioned, and then Tony opened up an extra air conditioning hole with a gas tank in the roof.
Right. So it was for hot air to leave.
It does leave well there.
See what I'm saying?
I think the cool air leaves well there too.
Yeah, we have air conditioning in this part of the shop, but the other part is.
So to be totally upfront and honest, this used to be a grow room for a CBD facility. And they blocked off all the vents. And so we have to leave the door open to get any kind of air conditioning in here.
All right,
Slant Daily, what's up, dude? That's Mr. P, Mr. Polito.
What's going on, Shane?
Yeah, July. I just talked to Tony. July 6th would be great if you want to come out here on the Wednesday night of July 6th.
I mean, we could all be dead by then. That's almost a month from now.
Yeah, we could be dead by then. Or gas could be $47 a gallon.
There's a good chance gas is going to be $47 a gallon before that.
Yeah.
How much is it by you guys? What's our high number? Who out there has the high number?
T. H-Man, Dallas, you have any stage 1 parts for sale? That's a no. Sorry.
Let's see.
Let's see. 645
at
0.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, he's in California though, right?
That's for regular zero. That's for regular.
John Mott says it's 489 here, so
that's what we're paying. I think 460. I think I just paid 459. So it's all averaging like between like 459 and
462,
460 something.
Yeah. Oh, Zero says he's seen 734 today.
Oof. Ouch.
Oh, that's for 91. Oh, all right. Well, does anybody even use that? I actually converted my white Ford truck to run on 87 just so I could get away from that nightmare.
529 in Central Illinois, 519 in Michigan. Yeah.
420 now. That's a high number.
Where's that? That's cheap.
No, you're not getting it.
420, right? Okay. Ha.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Tony and Big D. Let's see. 519 in Michigan. Munster, Indiana. 450. Well, 449 or 549. I'm sorry. Diesel fuel here is $6 a gallon in Western New York average, and that's kind of what everybody else is averaging as well.
Zero, you're saying your dog doesn't like 87? It runs better than 91? Oh, bro, you got like a tune-up issue. If you're knocking on 87 with a slant, no, man. Or 318, it doesn't matter. Any of those low compression mow bars.
Probably something wrong with the timing.
I run all my stuff on 87. Well, I shouldn't say that. When I do use the Charger or the Road Runners, they get premium. But all like any 318 or slant that I have, they all run on 87.
435 in East Texas. 435. Yeah, but that East Texas would probably be like Houston area where they refine it all, right? And they literally they deliver it by vapors through the air, so it costs nothing.
Mr. Will saying he scored 105 octane for $12.99 a gallon.
Sweet.
I used to pay like 16 a gallon for nitro, and that was like, oh my God, that's so expensive. Now it's like, they're paying like $45, $50 a gallon.
Look at Jay Russell Finch says it's over $8 here in Australia.
Screaming Seaman, have you ever seen those trucks that run off of burning wood vapors? Like I used to gasifier. Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff. I'm really not interested in it because it's not going to make enough power to make the car usable on a. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Uncle Squirrel is here.
Uncle Squirrel is
blaming squirrels
again.
Still for high gas prices, even.
I blame capybaras.
Let's see. Fart Master Flash.
Oh, there's a name for you.
Yeah. Purple Martin. Purple Martian, maybe?
Mostly old ports. That's Ron Ward. That's your announcer for the
he's good. Well, hey, we're trying to keep that on the DL.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, because Friday where John and I are announcing it.
Oh, yeah. He's just a mystery guy.
He's just a guy.
I drove the Roadrunner today. Why did auto manufacturers discontinue vent windows and underdash fresh air vents? I don't know. But they work so well, right?
I think it was the pretty much the giant crusade against not smoking.
Mr. How hot is it down in Tennessee? I was talking about the heat the other. I saw 101, but that's not the official temperature. I don't know.
It was 97 today, and it's supposed to be over 100 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think vent windows is kind of what dictates an older car, right? That's where all the new junk begins. Anything without a vent
when they took the vent windows away. Yeah, that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That's when the New World Order
the New World Order, the first thing they did was remove vent windows. And you know, what's kind of funny about that is it almost falls in conjunction when they removed the auto manufacturers from stockpiling parts. Remember, you used to be able to go buy parts from a dealership in 92 for something from the 70s or the 60s. And then after 92, they got rid of all that. You couldn't stockpile parts anymore. The manufacturers couldn't have anything older than 10 years.
Well, it's because there's so many parts to a new, okay, in the space that it takes to stock the parts for, let's say, one model a year car, modern car, you could stockpile the parts for 15 years of older models.
Well, maybe so. I don't know. I think it was actually just a ploy to eliminate the parts availability of them, to keep them on the road, so you were forced to buy something new.
The vent windows went away because of insurance companies. The insurance companies didn't want the distraction of the vent.
I was thinking it was because the people could steal the cars easy by knocking that vent window out.
That was one way you could do it.
Yeah. So the formula says the interdimensional aliens took vent windows.
No doubt. They had something to do with it. Let's see. Do flying saucers have cup holders? They better. You see the turns that these guys make? You know,
could you even have a cup holder that would hold anything at that point?
They measure them at something like 50 G's. the turns that they make, right? You are not going to hold on to your Sprite or your Pepsi or anything like that making a 50G turn. It's just not going to happen. You realize how much that thing's going to weigh? So yes, you would need a cup holder, and you would need an extremely strong cup holder. You probably need from materials that we don't have on this planet.
Here's Andy. He's showing up and he's saying greetings from Florida.
Oh, Andy, what's
vacationing? Are you vacationing?
You're in Florida?
Man.
Oh my God! Shouldn't you be working on your C4?
Shouldn't you be working on cramming that hammerhead mixed up boss into Casper?
Andy's probably sitting on one of the rafts, like on a beach in a hotel, and he's got his C4 floating next to him
on a raft,
right?
While drinking a Mai Tai,
right? Exactly, out of a straw, and he's doing his thing.
So here's something that I think is Jerry Baldwin says thoughts on Hellcats and Demons.
And they don't do that for me.
Here's what I find interesting. Didn't Al show up today or yesterday?
Al was here last night.
Last night. Okay. Al said 5 Hellcats have been stolen in 1 Cadillac.
4. It was 4 late model cars, 4 late model Hellcats and Demons, right? Or Challengers. I don't know what the breakdown was, and 1 Cadillac.
I find that interesting.
5 cars stolen from the Power Tour in Memphis. How crazy is that?
I know.
How crazy is that?
Oh.
Let's see. Samuel Long. It's called Planned Obsolescence. Oh, Andy's in Englewood. I'm not familiar with Englewood. Englewood, Florida? I've never heard of it.
Near Sarasota, he says.
Okay.
What are you doing down there? Is that vacation time? Okay, the Screaming Seaman. What does the Screaming Seaman have to say? Uncle Tony, I was replacing some rare plastic parts on the vacuum system, and I saw a video that you can use super glue and put baking soda on it, and it dries and hardens instantly. They use on carbon fiber. That's pretty interesting. Have you ever done plastic welding?
I have not. I mean, as a kid, I used to use hot knife things, like you build in a car model and you run out of glue. So you heat the knife and you melt the parts together. You know what I mean?
Well, the one I have seen where guys are doing plastic welding are using a soldering iron, right? And they just take the soldering iron along with cracks, whatever. Yeah, that's why I was actually going to bring that up, John Wilburn. Destroyer 1320, the YouTuber who is in our community, makes and sells a theft deterrent device for the newer Challengers, Hellcats. Really? Yeah. And definitely go hit that guy up. If you need to keep your Hellcat from being in somebody else's driveway, get yourself one of those anti-theft devices from Destroyer 1320.
John Mount says super glue and baking soda basically makes plastic. Interesting.
I didn't know that. I always thought super glue, when it came out, it was originally intended for the emergency medic.
Right.
Right? And it, like, if you've ever got it on your fingers and it really sticks your fingers together, it's because it was intended for human skin.
Right. It was supposed to be for battlefield, like wound repair. It's like, here, stick this on it.
Yeah. Don't have time for stitches? Give me the super glue.
Yeah. And we've all used, I don't know, all of us, but all of us from that era, when super glue was the thing, when it was new,
right?
We all used it, that you get a deep gash and you stick it back together again.
Yeah. It was one of those things you keep in the garage for when you rake your knuckles on something. Let's see.
Duke. Tony, I saw your Vermont loophole video. My question is, if the bike I bought didn't come with a license plate, is that something I need? No, you get a license plate.
Yeah, you just go down to the DMV. As long as you got the title, you can get a new license plate.
Right. You need the VIN. All you need is the VIN. They'll run the VIN and watch the video again, because he specifically talks about bikes. Bikes are a little bit different because a cop has to, or a licensed something or other. Watch the video.
Well,
has to inspect it and fill out a report.
There's also some interesting points that I didn't see in that video. A lot of the states in the South did not start issuing titles until like 1982. Right. So if you get a car prior 1981 and it's from, like, say, Mississippi or Louisiana, that car never came with a title originally.
No, it had a registration.
Right. So you can get a bill of sale, though, and take that to a state that had no. You have to retitle all those cars through the Vermont loophole.
You need something with the the person who's listed, okay, so on the title, it's printed out, your name is printed out.
Right.
The person who's printed out, his signature has to be on the title. And it's the same thing with a registration. A registration acts as a title when it's signed by the owner.
Okay.
Right. So a bill of sale won't do it. It actually has to be registration with the VIN number on it, official from the.
Because I bought them from the South before, and then just take them up north, and then say, okay, I bought it in Louisiana. They didn't issue titles until 1982. Okay, no problem. And they would just cut you a new title.
But what did you give them for proof that you own the car?
The bill of sale.
Just a bill of sale?
Yeah.
Which state was that in?
Illinois.
Really?
Yeah.
How long ago?
This was early 2000s. I don't know how it is now, but it used to be common knowledge that a lot of the states in the South didn't issue titles.
No, Alabama was like the last one that you could register it off of a bill of sale, but they changed that recently.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Huh.
Howard Sean John Tank Top, 68 Roadrunner for sale, $. Okay.
I definitely wouldn't take pesos if I was you.
Lonnie,
Or human organs.
Lonnie Newhouse. Hey, Tony, can you tell me best to put in 3-year-old gas in truck? Huh?
I'm assuming it sounds like he might have 3-year-old gas in his truck.
I wouldn't.
Here's how I handle that kind of stuff. If it has anything less than half a tank, go get some gas cans, fill them up, and cut it with new gas, and then run that whole tank out.
I'm going to say, and we talked about this. We talked about this on a recent live. I killed a motor doing that.
Did you really?
I killed a 318 in a Belvedere. It had old gas in it, like varnishy old gas, right? And it had maybe a quarter of a tank. And I filled up the tank with regular gas.
Uh-huh.
And as I drove the car, it ran okay. And I had gotten away with it a bunch of times, but it started to develop a miss. And then I'm having a dead cylinder. So after a while, I just stopped driving the car. And I said, well, I must have burned a valve or something. When I took the head off, you could see where there was a trail of the varnish in the cylinder, and it had gummed up the rings and stuck the rings in.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I never would have thought something like that.
I wouldn't have thought it happened either, because I got away with it a bunch of times. But I could tell you for sure one time when it definitely bit me in the ear.
And it's only 3-year-old gas. It's not that bad.
I don't know.
Right? But I took 2 or 3 years ago, there's a guy brought me a 63 LeSabre, had been on the road since 84 or something like that. And he wanted me to drain the tank and clean it out. And so I drained the tank, and I had it was about 5 gallons of crap, right? I mean, it was like brown, mucky, stinky stuff, right? I took it to like 20 different places, and nobody would take that stuff. I started like, okay, well, I'll take my 5 quarts of oil and I'll pull a quart of this stuff. It would take me freaking 8 months to get rid of that stuff. What I ended up doing was my Suburban's got a 40-gallon tank, and I filled it up till it was 5 gallons left, and I poured that crap in there, and I ran it right through the Suburban.
I mean, if you dilute it enough, it's probably okay. But I guess I didn't dilute it quite enough.
And I filtered it as I poured it in, right? Or I strained it. But Dakota's timeout says dig a small hole and put some dirt on top. That'll work. What's ironic about that is motor oil. You got to take motor oil to recycling, right? But in reality, oil comes from the earth.
Right. I would think to return it to where it came from.
Right. Well, Popular Mechanics actually back in the 60s used to do articles on how to make a French drain in your backyard and pour motor oil in.
Yes.
And it's like, I wonder if this whole thing has some validity to it.
Well, okay. So here's the thing about that, right? In most areas, it's probably okay. Where it's just you've got dirt, and then underneath it you've got nothing but more dirt, right?
Uh-huh.
So there's this infinite dirt. But let's say you live in an area like we do.
Right.
We have underground aquifers
with rock right like below the surface.
Yeah, and then this giant underground ocean. It eventually is going to seep into that. So
yeah, that's your neighbor's water, right?
Well, Park Den, thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
Enjoying all the builds blossoming out of UTG buildings. Some cash for the channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Oh. Well, when's the jet guy going to be finished up?
Oh, God, I don't know. They should be here right now, flogging away. Austin, where are you, man?
Yeah, Puddin', get over here. I need to
Park Den.
flog you guys. I need my start stand back. All right.
Suzuki water buffaloes don't have cams. I know.
It's a two-stroke.
Yeah. We don't know where that came from. Drag pack mark. Why do you? Okay. I didn't know we were talking about water buffaloes. Let's see.
Where's Olive to enjoy this?
She's our liberal friend.
Well, get a wagon. He says that I say with waste oil, just make a burner for it and burn the stuff.
Well,
and I've been looking at doing that all summer and spring. I was saving it up for pretty much just to do that exact thing.
Jason Whaley, hey Tony, does Slaghammer have solid lifters? No. Sounds awesome out back, but noisy up front. Giving thanks. No, it's got
piston slap.
Yeah, it's just a loose engine. It makes loose engine sounds. If you were to let's put it this way, right? If you were to take the typical like open headered race motor type of thing and you put mufflers on it and kind of quiet it up, you'd be hearing exactly that. And a lot of that noise is the header tube. There's one header tube on the passenger side that actually like comes within a couple of thousandths of an inch of the frame rail. So as the engine is running, that one tube, yeah.
Well, and that's kind of all right. So back in the, I guess it'd be like late 70s, early 80s, it used to be the thing that everybody would put TRW forged pistons in everything.
Right, and what does it sound like?
They rattle like mad.
Right.
And unluckily, my Ford truck decided to give up about 2018. It ate a roller cam, and actually the roller wheel stopped turning. Went through everything in the motor, right? So I ended up the pistons were scored. I ended up honing the cylinder walls out, but I don't know how far I honed them out. I just took them out till they were clean. And I ordered a set of pistons to bring the compression ratio down to something that I could run on 87 octane gas. The only place that could make them, like a piston manufacturer. And guess what? You don't get cast pistons from a piston manufacturer when they make custom stuff. So I get these Wiseco pistons. I just cram them in this truck. And I started up. Oh, man, it sounds great. I started up the first time the winter. I thought the sucker had broken the skirt on a piston or something. It was like, what in the world? And now it just sounds like that all the time after some miles on it, right?
Yeah.
But
Slaghammer has 8 thousandths piston and wall clearance, and the pistons are reversed. So those pistons are they're doing their thing. But as you can see, there's no smoke, no nothing, no, and it snaps up. Whoa! I mean, she's right there.
Well, there's no friction.
Right.
I guess that's a good thing about having. Or you just probably running thicker motor oil in, right?
No, it's 1540 Rotella.
No, that's thicker motor oil. It's not 1030. Don't put used oil in newer diesels unless you want to destroy your injectors. That's what Throttle It Up says.
Okay. Well,
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll try not to use any used oil in my newer diesels. Hey, wait a minute. I don't have any newer diesels.
Well, there you go. Problem solved.
Well, I'll not acquire any newer diesels so that I don't have to concern myself with the.
Here's something that was newer for you. I don't know if you noticed was going on. The Jeep XJ out front appeared to have dropped about a couple gallons of water out of it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's from the overflow. I overfilled it.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Good on you, Uncle Tony. Great job on the channel. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Let's see.
Okay, Mopar Den says, a question. Would you recommend putting a check valve in the fuel line to help keep fuel from draining back down to help improve hard starts?
I mean, you could, but it's not so much if it drains back, it evaporates. Like if the motor is hot, when you first shut that thing down, yeah. So let's just say you got a day like today, it's 100 degrees, okay? And by some chance you don't run into vapor lock issues, but it's like 100 degrees and you shut the car off and it heat soaks for like, let's say 15 minutes. That bowl is empty.
Yeah.
It's empty, and you have to crank it until the fuel can come back up again. It's not fuel draining back to the tank. It's fuel in the bowls evaporating.
Well, so I fixed a Quadrajet like this. Well, not fixed it. I took a recommendation from somebody, and it turned out to be one of the best things I've done. In the Quadrajet, on the needle and seat, the seats on the later model ones for emission stuff actually had vents or holes where it would spill the fuel out toward the bottom of the seat, right? In the earlier models from the 70s had no vent holes in the sides.
Okay.
And allowed to fill the bowl all the way up. But for emissions purposes was if it fills the bowl all the way up, it evaporates out as it's sitting, right? And that's nobody likes that, right? But when you got the windowed seats, it allows it to all the fuel to evaporate out of the bowl, and then you got nothing every time you go to start it. So if you put one of those seats in there from an earlier one, it'll retain some of that fuel in there so that when you go to start it, it lights off immediately.
Well, they also some of the I don't know the years, but some of the Rochesters on the fuel filter had an anti-drain valve.
They do.
Drain back valve.
Yeah. They have a little rubber pintle valve at the end.
Right.
And you don't want to remove that.
Let's see, Danny Boyd, Mopar Al, did Ethan go along? I do not know. I just messaged Al about 20 minutes
There's
ago.
a Mopar Al right there.
Oh, there he is.
He must be hoteling it right now. Is he in the hotel? Should we send like pizza over? Pizza and beers?
Zero saying, I covered my shiny fuel hard line with 3H rubber fuel line. Cheapo thermal barrier works. Okay.
Happy on Cycle says, watching all the guys stalled with overheating down there. I wonder if fuel boiling issues are actually a big one during 100-degree heat. Oh, for sure they would be. That's where Tony was talking vapor lock. That's where essentially that vapor gets all the way down to the pump, and the pump is essentially sucking air. It can't pump nothing, right? Vapor, hence being locked, right?
A Forerunner. I recently bought a Suzuki GS550, but my ignition points are installed incorrectly by the previous owner, and they don't open when the engine rolls over. And he said, "Yeah, I have no idea. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, adjust the points so that they open. I guess he just didn't adjust them correctly."
Steve Bob says, wouldn't that be improper dwell? Yes, I think you would have to adjust the points until where they actually do open and close.
Screaming Seaman, UT, question about head airflow and overcarbing an engine. I've noticed that most high performance heads will flow about 400 CFM max times 2 equals 800 CFM max. Are you overcarbing with a 900 CFM carb? My opinion is no, but Andy is here, and Andy is Mr. Flow. So he will, if Andy would jump in there and answer your question for you.
You know, if it's vacuum secondary, no. But if you've got a double pumper, I wonder what that actually does, right? Because I'm about to do that on my super stock Buick motor. I put a 950 double pumper on it, and I mean that motor can't use 950 CFM, possibly at all.
Well, I don't know, but like I said, let's let Andy in there.
It's a good question. All right, so Pickrus Burton says, "Hey, Tony and Dallas, years ago, a guy down the street had a nice but slightly ready 53 Imperial with an early Hemi. I should have bought that sucker." Yeah, you probably should have.
If you wanted a righty Chrysler with an early Hemi, then yes. And if you didn't want one, then no. That's pretty.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I just scored a dual point Mallory distributor for a Buick small block.
No shit.
Yeah. I couldn't find another one. It was on eBay. Nice. I'm like, oh, I'll scoop that sucker up.
Danny and Dan from D&D Speed Shop were here yesterday. We spent the day bombing around Nashville and showing him the sites and everything. And he brought me a Moroso tack drive distributor and a Unilite distributor.
All right.
So I don't know what I'm going to do with the Unilite, but the tack drive distributor is definitely going in Bottle Rocket.
Well, I remember those Unilites.
Yeah. Man,
they were like unifails. Right? Like you had to have a module with you. And it wasn't really the module, it was that laser eye inside there.
Yeah.
Them things would go bad like at a moment's notice. eFog 3. Hi, Dallas. Hey, eFog 3.
Jerry Bowdwin. Boy, that's a tough one. It's a simple name, but it's a tough one.
Well, maybe it's from like New Orleans or Louisiana. Bowdwin.
What's CFM carb for 421 small block Chevy that done at 650 on a 750 Holly? Enough carb. I think you'd probably dyno a little bit more with a bigger carb. Yeah,
850.
Yeah, I would try an 850 on it.
Generally, anything over 400 cubic inches, you want to start looking at 850.
Double the cubic inch. That my formula, the rule of thumb that I've always gone by since I was a teenager is just double the cubic inch. Now that might not be the most efficient carburetor, and might not be the most perfectly drivable carburetor, but for maximum power, double the cubic inch.
All right, Brian Schrock here says, I have a 78 RV 440. What would the compression ratio be with 64 426 street wedge closed chamber heads?
Right about 9 to 1.
Oh, that's probably the perfect head for it then.
Yeah,
if you're going to run on the street. Let's see here. Danny Boyd says, I've always wanted some of those anodized Moroso valve covers. Hey, surprise, Danny. Wait till you look and see how much those things go for these days. They are stupid money. Stupid money. $200, $300, $400, and they were like, what, stamped aluminum? Yeah. You could literally drop a piece of paper on it and it would dent that valve cover.
Jimmy said, will a gap 30 thousandths too large cause your coil to overheat and fail?
Yes.
Probably. So you're saying that the typical gap is like 35 thousandths of an inch. So you're saying that you're firing at 65 thousandths?
That's too much.
You better have like an HEI coil on that, an HEI type of ignition.
Yeah, I know, Danny Boyd. They were under $100 when you were a kid. Now they're like $500, $600 a set for used ones.
It's pronounced Bodwin.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Well, thanks for setting me straight on that, Jerry. Bodwin. Let's see. Yes, really. Go look them up on eBay. They're stupid money for those Moroso, the stamped aluminum valve covers, the anodized ones.
Anthony Perna, Dallas and Tony, I'm thinking about launching a channel. Is it too late to get into the no names? Also, is there a class for a mid 13-second car?
There is no real classes. You can pretty much run in anything you want for the no name nationals. I would say, okay, starting a channel and trying to get in on the no name nationals right now to have your 500 subs by the time it starts, you right now would be like the last drop dead that you would even try to do this. Okay. Look at Two Hacks Garage. They had their stuff knocked out in 2 months. So you literally have enough time to get it done. But then there's other channels that have been working at it the entire time and they're still at 250, 300, right? You might have some time to make it, and it doesn't matter what your car runs. There's going to be something that it can fit in and you can have fun with. That's the whole point of the No Name Nationals.
As for being too late to start a channel, I don't think it's ever really too late, because you could hit the YouTube lottery and you put out that one video that just actually that happens to go gets a bunch of shares, or you know what I mean?
You're right. I got lucky with one of those. I did.
Everybody eventually gets lucky with one. You may hit it right off the bat, so it's definitely worth taking a shot.
Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is you don't make 500, no big deal. Just come down and spectate, right? I mean, they're still going to welcome you with open arms. You're a YouTube content creator, and that's what the event is created for, right? So, but as far as competing in it, the cutoff is just 500, because that's where YouTube recognizes you as a content creator.
Danny Boy, look at Daddy's Money. Yeah, Daddy's Money Garage. They're at like over 4,000 subs. They only really just got started.
Yeah, well, from the other end of the spectrum on that, I just got started in November, and I might crest 1,000 by the time we have the No Name Nationals.
Yeah, but you only post every once in a while.
I do. Just to be fair, I only do it once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you want the YouTube algorithm to favor you, you have to post constantly. You got to do it all the time, right? You got to be regular about it, and YouTube will put your videos out. If you do it sporadically or very inconsistently, or there's big gaps, then the algorithm never picks your videos up and sends them out, for recommended. So you got to keep that in mind too. If you're going to start it, hit it like every day, every other day. Keep your videos short, 1, 2, 3 minutes. Give them, make sure they have topics that are searchable. You know what I mean? Because you could, so you do a video on, my favorite ashtray, okay? And it's like, who the hell is searching for ashtrays, favorite ashtrays? So it has to be something like classic car interior, interior accessories, and then you could talk about ashtrays there. More people will search classic car interior accessory, like this. So you see what I mean? YouTube is a search engine. That's what people forget.
Well, you need to type it in as you would search the topic that you're looking for.
Right.
Right. That's how you got to reverse think it, and then you'll have a good idea of what to actually name it and how to describe it. But there is a lot of topics like this covered when John Wilburn and Buzz from Roadkill Customs do their No Name 500 class. They do an educational class to teach you how to build your videos to get those numbers that, like Tony's talking about, have the correct description, have the correct topic, right? And that's the main things. I mean, you could literally just put a picture of your interior up there, and if you had it labeled correctly, you could have a freaking billion views.
Swamp Rat, my brother. Tony, I've been thinking about starting a channel. Is it okay if I use your subscriber base after all I borrowed toys from you? Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out. Come grab a car while you're at it. Everybody gets a car. I'm like the Oprah of the YouTube world.
You win a car. You win a car. You win a car.
Good night, Doug Garden.
Yes, there you go. Content Creator Workshop. John Wilburn and Buzz from Roadkill Customs do that Content Creator Workshop to help the guys that don't have 500 out. But that doesn't mean that you can't watch that video if you have less than 1,000 or you're trying to attain 2,500 or whatever, right? But it's never too late to jump in to do the No Name Nationals. I would just, right now is starting to get to crunch time, right? Where if a majority of you would not make if you started right now.
What John Wilburn just said, the best video with a lazy title will never do anything. He's so right. Title, thumbnail, the thumbnail picture is really important. You know what I'm saying? Just think of it. Think of it like when you go into a supermarket, okay, and you're gonna buy a can of something, a can of beans, let's just say. Your eye catches the most inviting product, and that's the one that you automatically reach for, right? And it's the same thing with YouTube. When the videos come up, you know what I mean? Like in that column there, the thumbnail that looks the most inviting or the most interesting, the most colorful, and that's the one that people are just gonna automatically kind of click on.
Well, and here's the thing that people have to really look at it as. YouTube is a free market, right? Mm-hmm. Literally anybody can put their stuff on there. So when you type in, I'm looking for, let's say, Moroso gold valve covers, there's going to be 20,000 videos to choose from. The one that catches your eye is the guy that did the correct thing. Got the thumbnail right, the wording right, the exact picture that you were thinking of in your mind to get you to click on that. That's exactly what he's saying. It's just like, you're walking down an aisle with 2,000 bean cans, right? And it's the one with the best bean can that's going to win out.
Zach Winter, thank you, Zach. Being a flat rate Honda tech makes me appreciate old mechanically simple cars more and more every day. Yep. Something like the daily driver late 40s or early 50s Packard Nasher Hudson. They're beautiful cars, but you know what? Then that's not going to be a good daily driver.
And it's not going to be the simple mechanical ones either. Well, the Packard might be, depending on when you pick.
Okay.
Which ones came with that super weird rear suspension and stuff?
Oh, they all had. Okay, so here's the thing. The Packard had a rear torsion bar suspension. Here's the thing about cars from the early 50s and late 40s, early 50s, right? Here's the thing about those cars. They were all designed for 40, 50 mile an hour travel. Okay, it was before the interstates, where most travel was done on 2 lanes, and the speed limit on most 2 lanes varied between, let's say, 30 miles an hour, like through town, 25, 30 miles an hour through town, to like 50, 60 miles an hour out in the, the longer stretches. That's the maximum those cars were ever intended to see, right? So it wasn't until the interstates, they started out in 1956, but it wasn't until the interstate travel started to become common in the middle 1960s that they started gearing cars and setting them up for sustained use at 60, 70 miles an hour. So the earlier cars, the way they're geared, the way they're set up, they're not happy at those speeds.
Yeah.
So you want to try to find something that's for a daily driver. You want to find something from, let's say, 1965, 1966 through like the 70s and the 80s as far as classic cars go. And your 80s cars are your absolute best for that.
Or there is other options, like find like a 50s Chevrolet and swap in like a Nova front subframe and then Nova rear axle, and then you like a 70s Nova, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't run down the interstate all day long at that point, right? But it takes the whole combination, because let's say for instance, you get a Hudson here, right? And it's got 410 gears from the factory. You try to drive around the interstate and the motor's screaming, right, going 65 miles an hour. So you decide to swap out the rear axle. Well, now that you'll find out that the Hudson doesn't generate enough torque, right, to use that gear. Your RPMs are down, but your mile an hour is down as well.
Right.
So that's the trade-off. That's what Tony's talking about. It's a whole package, and that's where the cars were actually designed around that whole thing. The best thing that I've seen, I think, in the past 20 years is the Stovebolt 6 guys figured out if you put one of those anemic S10 T5s behind the Stovebolt 6 in like a 50s Chevy, you can actually change the entire combo to where it works well, because the T5 doesn't pull a lot of power to make it work, right? And the overdrive's just enough for those 410 gears to be usable on interstate.
Look, it's Daddy's Money Garage. Why aren't you guys working on your car?
Well, he said something up here. He said, somebody said something about clickbait, and I felt a disturbance in the force, right? I'm trying to find that. So Charlotte Quillen says they called cars that weren't geared that way Western rear ends.
Well, probably because they were out in the great nowhere. Hey, Kyla, thank you for the super chat. Derek bought a 66 Galaxy original 289 with modern fuel or hardened valve seats needed to run modern fuel. On that 289, more than likely. All those early Ford motors, very soft seats. Yeah.
You can put fuel additive or lead additive in there, and it'll work for a little while, but it'll eventually beat the seats out.
Well, actually, your best bet with that is to upgrade to modern heads.
Yeah, right. GT40P head would fix all that right there in
right. Yeah, better. Exactly. Yeah. You see, that's the thing about that 289, right? You could swap the whole top end from a modern 302, a 5-liter, onto that, and you got the power, and you got the longevity, and you got the hardened seats and everything else, and very simple. It's all bolts together.
Yep. And you would be kicking ass in one day. So all their problems solved. GT40P are probably going to be the go-to. Yeah, most of the time, small block Ford stuff. If you can find a set of the 96, 97 GT40 heads on the Explorers, those are even better because everything bolts up to them. Yeah, you're right, Dakota. But what I found is that you use a short plug. Use a short plug and you don't have those problems anymore.
Matt asks, tallest rear gear, 85 Chrysler 50 Avenue, 220 gear. Right? I know.
Oh, speaking of that, I've seen some of the GMs, like you remember that turbocharged Pontiac Trans Am they had in like 79?
The 301, yeah.
Yeah, they had like 220 gears in them.
Yeah. Anthony Prentice saying he wants the GT40 heads and not the P heads. They have trouble with manifolds fitting. Okay, I didn't know that. See, but that's why we have this. That's why this group is here, because everybody has a little bit of knowledge on stuff that where Dallas and I maybe not know the exact answer to, and boom, there you go.
Yeah. Well, they changed the plug angle on those heads. So if you put old manifolds on them, the plug hits the actual head, or it hits the manifold. right? Because
Really?
it's in the way. Yeah. So if you like I said, Excel used to make a header plug. It was a shortened plug.
Yeah.
Right.
Had those.
This thread right in, and they might be for a small black Chevrolet, but they're going to be fine. But they're short, and it fixes those problems with those clearance issues.
Eric Stubby is here. What's going on, Stu? I dropped that block off today over at Shacklett's.
J. Russell Finch says spray fixes a lot. Yes, it does. It will put a smile on your face.
And Olive is in. What's going on, Olive? Oh man, Olive, we were talking about oil disposal before, and people were like, "Oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing Olive's not here." Okay, Kathy is saying Poppy is a-okay. She's recovering and is eating treats now. Well, Poppy is Poppy is a 15-year-old beagle. She's one of ours. She's got congestive heart failure. She's been hanging in there for about 6 months, longer than she should have been alive. She's got these water pills that are keeping her alive. And we had a couple of close calls today where we thought that Poppy had gone, crossed the Rainbow Bridge, but evidently Poppy's okay and she's eating snacks. So,
you know what? When my dog had the congestive heart failure, what was terrible about it was like she was totally fine, and then one day she started yelping, laying on the floor.
yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on there? So we took her in. There's nothing we could do. But for $2,500, this pill's going to fix her up, and that's $2,500 a week. And I'm like,
$25 a week.
Get the pill ready, or get the shot ready, right?
No.
It was $2,500 a week.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I'm like, no,
it cost me $18 for a month's supply.
Yeah, see, and $2,500 a week, we could have fixed my dog up. That ain't happening. Dallas, I read online that people with 67 Buick Electras with 430 V8s getting 25 miles a gallon because they had 276 rear ends. That I don't know about 25 miles to the gallon, but I know that the big block Buicks can get notoriously good gas mileage because of the amount of torque they make at low RPM.
The key to that is the fact that it doesn't take a lot of throttle opening to move the car. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. You're still like on the idle circuit, just barely into the transfer slots. So it's just sipping along and making
400 foot-pounds of torque, right? So that's the big thing for them. And gears help out a lot, and it doesn't seem that weight really makes much of a difference on them, right? Because I put that 455 in that 85 Suburban, and it probably weighs, I bet that 85 Suburban probably weighs 1,000 pounds more than Electra, right? And it ran down the road getting 15 miles a gallon with 342s.
Space Peanut, have you ever used a mailbox for a hood scoop like in Tulane Blacktop? I have not, but I would, and I think that's really cool. But I know I've just never done it.
Yeah, the Thumper says Pontiac 455s are good at that too. And I think all those big torque engines, the Pontiac big blocks, the Oldsmobile big blocks, the Oldsmobile 425 is the one I know of that's because it has the high compression, but yet all that big low end grunt. No, I'm not from Detroit like Forrest Gump's buddy.
Standing foot. I got my boy Daisy Dukes on. Go put some pants on. Go put some pants on. Standing foot.
Yeah, Andy says that the Tulane Blacktop used a modified version of the Grump Lump.
That's
they
right.
Did. That's right. It was aluminum. Joe K says, thoughts on an e-body that used to have a ProCharge 340 with an aftermarket fuel injection kit and will be getting a Hellcat swap. Car is set up for drag race, but will also be a reliable cruiser.
I don't really have any thoughts on that.
Well, so here's what I do know. Hellcat swaps, I don't know if they have a standalone harness yet for those. You used to have to take the entire everything electrical because it's all CAN bus together out of the car and put it in something earlier.
Here's my honest thoughts about this. Here's my honest thoughts about this. I'm doing, oh God. I mean, look, I've been in this for a long time, right? And I've seen countless Hemi swaps, and LS swaps are different. I've seen countless Hemi swaps into cars, and I've seen countless Hemi swaps I kind of drive out of the shop, and then I never ever see them again. It's like 1 out of 10 actually goes out into the world and functions as it's supposed to. And the rest of them are forever chasing gremlins and having issues and this stumbling thing and that won't start and this, then it stalls and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know why this is, other than it's utterly complicated. It's an unnatural or unholy combination. And it's just not a smart thing to do. But if you want to do it, knock yourself out. I consider it to be a folly.
Hey, did I tell you I got my switch pitch swapped into the Suburban?
Did you?
Yeah, I did a video on it. This thing's like a CVT. It literally just like hangs at a certain RPM, and then all of a sudden everything starts to work, and like the converter will lock up, go to low stall, then it'll shift into high gear, and then the gears, the RPM just starts dropping, and it just keeps pulling.
I could picture that.
It's so weird. It drives me nuts. It's like a CVT. It gets up to like 3 grand and just hangs there for a few minutes.
Zach Roberts, I've seen one modern Hemi swap car actually work well. Took a year to figure it all out. Who the hell wants to spend a year figuring out a daily driver?
There you go. Death Pusher, Death Pusher, that's a great name, says, I get about 10 to 12 smiles to the gallon. That's the way it's supposed to work, people. This is supposed to be a hobby and fun. If you're doing your dailies, that's where you need to have the slant sixes in there and the 318s and the small cubic inch 273 stuff. Or your 215 Buicks or 300 Buicks. They get good mileage. Let's see. Data LeBreton says, I got 18 to 19 miles per gallon U.S. gallons with my 66 Pontiac Star Chief Executive 389 4-barrel turbo 400 and 273 gears running on Supreme. He says it's got 10.5 to 1 compression.
Andy's saying he would do a Gen 3 Hemi swap only if it had a carb. I agree. Scuzzy Levitch, Holly just came out with the stuff you need to make a Hemi work apparently, so maybe it'll get the I guess it works just as well as this Sniper, where it's like, half the time it works, and on the other half of the time, people are like, "Why did I do this?" And they swap.
Where's my carburetor?
Right, after the $400 tow home, right? You know what I mean? Then yes, right. So yeah, I guess it's all shit. It's all shit.
Man, get Tony wound up about all the shit
because it's all shit.
Well, it is, and that's what's funny. Even to today. Right. And I pushed quadrujets and everybody called them quadrubogs and quadrujunk and all this and that. On Facebook, there is an actual group dedicated to people that had problems with Holly snipers.
Yeah, I know. Right? I've seen it.
There is not one for quadrujets suck. All right. I'm putting that out there. Quadrubog, quadrujunk. There is no page that says quadrujets suck. There is a Holly group though for snipers.
Let's see. Avert your eyes. No.
Yes, me and Thumper must be the only ones that love Q-Jets. I don't know.
I love Q-Jets too. I got no problem with Q-Jets.
Did I tell you my biggest folly this year so far? At the Buick Nationals, there was a guy that had he was selling parts next to me. So when I got done at the end of the day, I walk over to this dude's booth, and he had literally had a pile of quadrujets, let's say like in a milk crate, right? He just dumped them on the ground. And he's like, yeah, take your pick, $35.
Yeah, remember you were saying you grabbed one from
I pulled one out of the pile and I looked at it and I'm like, hey, this has got the slots cut in the back like a high performance Pontiac. And then I looked at it and it's like the vent bowl's cut off. You need to run the numbers. And that's the first thing that crossed my mind was, hey, you need to run the numbers on this carburetor. That was a 74 Super Duty carburetor. I could have bought for $35. They're like $1,000 cord. I feel like an idiot. It's been kicking myself ever since.
Zach Winter, if the Holly Sniper is really a sniper, it must be using a smooth bore musket.
He's got spit wads in there.
They're all junk. They're all junk. Just put a freaking carburetor on it and I'd be happy. Deal with a little vapor lock. Deal with a little bit of pumping it when you go to start it. You know what I mean? Deal with it.
Oh, Thumper says Super Duty and HO carbs are $2,500 cores. All right, now you're making me feel even worse. Shut up. Jason Whaley's has the comment of the evening. You can't beat on a computer and make it run better.
That's true. Darwin Foster, I have a sniper I bought and ran it a month, was slower than my grandma running up a hill. Now it sits on a shelf.
Sell it to some other sucker. You know, that's the best thing you can do is find a sucker coming down the street and move it along.
Let's see.
Oh, best style of quadrijet for a daily driver small block. I'll tell you what I know. Okay. You start looking at, most people don't look at it. Generally, they look at this. There's two generations of quadrijet carburetor, right? There's the 4MC and then the 4MCM or whatever the heck it is. But it goes from up to 1974 and before, and then 1975 and later. Now the 75 is a turd. It has literally 3 metering rods in there. You got your 2 for your primaries, and then it's got 1 for the adjustable part throttle that they tried to use in conjunction with.
Well, no, wait. There's actually 3 generations.
Well, yeah. Then you got the computer control.
CCC carburetor from 1981.
But I always stick with the 76 and later carburetors up to about 1980. That's when you get the best bang for your buck in a quadrijet, because every single one of them, you can bolt the electric choke onto it from a truck, right? And eliminate all the other stuff. Most of them have 2 choke pull-offs. I don't even bother with it. I just go get the later choke pull-off where you run 1 choke pull-off on it. And then usually what you'll find is those later ones you can get the base plate off of a computer controlled carburetor, and they're very similar. So you can virtually swap that base plate on there and run a 700R4 or a 204R without buying any weird linkages or anything like that. The next thing that's really cool, if you go to the junkyard, Oldsmobiles were famous for it. All the other GMs bolted the linkages to the intake manifolds of the engine. Oldsmobile bolted it to the back of the carburetor. And then you could have a linkage set up that would fit on anything.
Right, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there are the ticket.
Jonathan Couchy, thank you for the super chat. Tony, do you know that the mid-80s V8 lean burn computer will work on a mid-80s slant 6, just slap in and go? Also got my 318 running really snappy after pointing the heads and intake and flipping the pistons. Cool. I didn't know that about the lean burns, but bro, I just avoid the lean burn. I always avoided the lean burns, dude. There's nothing happy about those. But thank you for the super chat.
Anthony Perna says he had good luck with a 75 Q-Jet. Hey, but I've never had one on anything. I just know when I took it apart, it was like, what the hell is this? A 3rd metering rod? And then no one sells any parts for it, and you can't change stuff up. If it's going back on the same motor, it's perfect, I'm assuming. But if you change anything on the engine, you're screwed. Hey, congratulations. I'm glad I got 3 miles a gallon better. That's what it was designed for. But man, I'm telling you, you try to hot rod that thing and you are in a world of hurt for that.
Standing for Tony told me to get some pants on. Oh man. Listen, if I was the ruler of the world, if I made all of the laws and all the rules and everything else, males showing any part of their anatomy that wasn't like, arms or face, right, would be a class A misdemeanor. Let's see.
Charlotte Quillen says, my Diplomat 318 came with a Q-Jet from the factory.
Yeah, they stopped, Carter went out of business in like 1985, 1984, 85, whatever it is. And then they started using quadrijets
on the cars. But before that, you could get them on the trucks up in like the early 80s, right? Like 80 or 81.
Yeah, I forget what the last year for the thermal quad was. But the quadrijet was a replacement for the thermal quad on the Chryslers.
I'm assuming that's just because it bolted right on, right? I mean, the thermoquad was, if you guys didn't know, was designed to replace the quadrijet, to fix what ails you. We did a tech talk video on it probably 2 years ago.
We've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, and that's why maybe we should start doing it from our house. And then we don't have to drive and do all this stuff.
Why gotta be here anyway?
Well, okay. But I was thinking we could StreamYard it and just do it from our house where it's nice and cool and you don't have to drive.
It's nice and cool here now.
No, I'm sweating. I got shorts on. And I know you don't wear shorts. You gotta be sweating.
I would die before I wear shorts. UT, what about if you get caught wearing just a sock? No, you don't
Where's
understand.
the sock at?
I am a never nude. You know what I mean? I just do not. You know what I mean? I take a shower and poof, I get dressed. I don't believe that the male should ever be seen
in public, right?
Yeah, you're even in private, really. I mean,
are thermoquads that much better than from the QJet? It depends. It really depends. For heat soak, yeah, they're way better because they got a plastic body that doesn't heat soak. Replacement parts, probably not. I mean, the QJet, you can literally still go down to any parts store and order anything, right? I don't know if you can for a quadjet or for a thermoquad, can you?
Not really, no. I'm showing a lot of neck. I know, I'm showing.
No, somebody said, what's my favorite carburetor? I actually like Holleys. I've never learned anything about a Holley until a couple months ago. I've never screwed with a Holley in my life. I've always had quadrojets because that's all I could afford. I was just a kid that was just messing with stuff out of the junkyard.
Abel D, can we get back to exposing kids early to cars? How to work on them in candy cigarettes?
Well, I think we probably need to start exposing kids to cars early or mechanical stuff, mechanical repair, you know.
They have to be drawn to it. You can't just you know what I mean? You got to show them the stuff, but they really have to be drawn to it for them to get involved.
The thermoquad is a mechanical secondary?
It's a mechanical secondary with a vacuum lockout.
So vacuum secondary.
Well, it has the actual.
Can you take the vacuum lockout off and now you got a double pumper to set up? Well, not a double.
No, the throttle blades have a mechanical connection, okay. Right? But the flapper valve.
Oh, just like the
vacuum brake. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, so it is just like the quadrojet. That is a vacuum secondary carburetor, but it does open the butterflies mechanically. Right. But it does the same thing on the quadrojet. It's just those top doors don't open. Until you've met the conditions, like the choke being off. Punisher Le Mans Garage says, I really like the Holley Sniper. We were bashing the Holley Sniper, but it may work for a few people, but I'm telling you, for the majority, there's just nothing but sob stories about this thing.
Eric Stubby saying, I wish my dad showed me more about cars and I was starting to show an interest in cars. Well, I picked up where he left off, man. You know what I mean? I've showed you plenty.
That's why you got the Uncle Tony here.
That's right.
My old man, he used to tell me, I don't want you to be a mechanic. You're not going to be some freaking wrench, right? That's what I did for my living to begin with, and it sucked. And it's like, okay.
Well, I came from the most non-automotive family you could ever possibly imagine. I mean, I like the exact opposite of anything automotive.
Really?
No, please. I caught hell. Joe K, are your granddaughters showing any interest in cars? No, my oldest, Caitlin, she's 7, and yeah, I could see. No, she doesn't have the car gene, but she loves going for rides on a motorcycle. So and she likes to look at motorcycles, you know. But it's too soon to tell. She's very, very girlish, and I've got her scheduled in my mind. I've got her scheduled to be raised to cook me very good meals. The other one, Allison, she's 3. And I could see where she's a bit of a wild child. I could see where she might have the not the mechanic gene, but be open to it and want to mess around with cars. I could see that. But we'll, as they get older, we'll see how this goes.
Let's see. Shopcat Industries says, Oh, they're talking about the Turlo's kid is building that No Name Nationals car.
Nemo the Pimpfish, thank you for the super chat. Uncle Tony, have you ever played with 2.5 Daimler? No, I have not. Have you ever seen Ross Carpenter's dragster from England? Yes, I have. It's on YouTube. He ran Nitro back in the 70s days. Impressive for being tiny. Yes, I was actually very fascinated by that car. I read about that Superstock magazine probably when I was a kid, really, or in my mid-20s or so. And but yeah, I'm familiar with it, but no, I never saw it run because I've never been over there. Lazy a-hole wrench. I'm a 48-year-old woman and I'm starting to get super interested in car stuff. You're never too old to start. There you
Exactly. There you go.
D. Scaglione, what's happening, man?
Shopcat Industry says Lazy A-hole Ranch. I'm subbing your channel just based on your channel name.
Matt S. Problem with aftermarket EFI is getting parts. You're not going to walk into a parts store and get anything for it without special orders. You pretty much have to have 2 of every part for that system. Well, okay, in the defense of those systems, the sensors and whatnot that they use are generally General Motors.
Yeah.
GM
late model sensors.
Right. So it's not the sensors that are the problem, it's the ECU that's the problem.
The injectors, the ECU, the wiring.
Right, which is all proprietary and it's all made by the lowest bidder in some factory in Hunan Providence. And when it goes tits up, it goes tits up. So, and they never run as good as they're supposed to. If all you care about is like, okay, it's not going to vapor lock and I'll be able to start it like without cranking it 1,000 times, well then go right ahead and make that swap.
If you really want to do EFI, okay, and this I've been doing it for a while now. If you really want to do EFI, do it justice. All right, the Ford Bosch injectors are, if you get the early ones, okay, and you'll see them. They're like on a lot of the 80s and early 90s Ford trucks and stuff like that. They're the ones with the big body, right? Those things last forever. I don't think that there is like a period at which they start going bad. I've used the same injectors now for probably 10 years, and I just clean them out every couple of years, right? But make it multi-port fuel injection. That's where it's going to be costly. I mean, if you, let's say it's $2,000 for one of those snipers. If you hawked up another $1,000, you could make a multi-port fuel injection system, and it would be fairly reliable.
I just want to throw this in here. Dada LeBreton. My dad just passed away on June 7th. He told me everything he knew, all car by heart, and he was my hero. Dada, we're so sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, that's terrible, man. That's the worst thing that ever happened to me was when the day my old man passed away.
Okay, so everybody just pass on condolences to Dada. So what I was going to say is, if by some chance, I have thought about doing EFI conversions on. I actually thought about it on the car that Kathy drives, but the only way that I would do it is by using. So in my case, it's Chrysler products. So the only way I would do it would be to take an entire standalone system of a Magnum and swap that in.
So the factory ECU.
All the factory, right? See, that's the nice thing about it, like with the Mopars. You take like a Dakota, you take like a mid-90s Dakota or so with a Magnum. What all of the wiring, everything to run the engine is under the hood, the ECM, the harness, the whole bit. So you can literally, you go to the junkyard and just carefully unplug everything, and you've got everything under the hood, and you can swap it all over into any car. And see, I would make a swap that way if I thought it was beneficial enough. I don't really see enough of a benefit to make it worthwhile. But doing it that way, I could see doing it. So if you can retrofit a factory system into the car,
I tell you where it would work dividends. Okay, if you're running a turbocharged setup, EFI and turbocharge go hand in hand, right? They work so well together. I'm actually going to be doing one on my channel coming up later this year. I'm putting together a 350 Buick that I had an intake manifold made 10 or 15 years ago for EFI. And I'm decided No one wants to buy it. I'm going to freaking turbocharge a 350 Buick using stock stuff, and I'm going to feed it the beans. I want to see what it'll do. I think it will make a 455 cry. I really do. Stock stuff. Charlotte Quillen, Dallas, you ever seen a Fomoco Cross Boss? You know what that is? I've never heard of that.
It's an inline 4-barrel carburetor.
Oh, that they use like in the that Autolite carb.
Yeah, the Autolite carb.
Okay. Huh, I didn't know it was called a Cross Boss.
Yeah.
Wasn't that for like road racing stuff?
I don't know what the purpose was. Ford was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of like exotic things in the late 60s. They were involved in all different sorts of.
And you know, and you've hit on it a bunch of times. I think that's when they were at the pinnacle of automotive engineering in this country, was like 61 to 69, right? Everything else has just been an afterthought, right?
True.
Or an addition to it.
That's true. Everything that we have today was worked on and
That's
basically sorted.
That's when the country was inspired and people didn't have someone hanging over their back like, hey, I'm going to hire this automotive engineer and I'm going to tell him where he's going to put the spark plugs and bullet holes and all. No, back then, you know what would have happened? Those guys were all the ones that came back from World War II. You would have told that mechanical engineer where to put the spark plug. He would have probably turned around and knocked your teeth loose. But you hired somebody, you let that person be professional and do their job, and that was that. And I think that's some of it. But also during that period is when they were like all the gloves were off, right? There was no limitations. That's when the switch pitch was around. I mean, who freaking bets on that kind of stuff?
Richard Hayes, Tony, hope you're enjoying the TS250. I took my TS185 out for a ride today, and it's bogging in fifth flat out, but no other gears. Filter is clean, and it's jetted right for this heat. Any ideas? It's probably lean.
What kind of carburetor is it? Oh, it's a
motorcycle. Yeah.
Oh.
Read the plug, man. Read the plug. I mean, I don't really have.
High gear bogs are generally lean.
Yeah.
Right. So. Dallas, those holes, EFIs are great for tuning. The turbo builds and the specialist for okay.
Let's see. Screaming team, the automotive industry took a giant leap forward with World War II technology. It's true.
Look at this. Could Joe Brennan says, could EFI to carburetor swaps be the wave of the future?
Absolutely.
I think so.
I will guarantee it. I will absolutely guarantee it. You know what's going to be? You know what's going to be huge too? Belt-driven distributors.
You think belt-driven?
You watch. Yeah.
Like Gilmer Belt?
Gilmer belt-driven distributors. Guaranteed. Able to UT, would you consider a natural gas conversion? No, I would not. $6,000 kit, including compressor to pump natural gas in the tanks at home. Yeah, no, no, because you know I'm familiar with like propane-driven like forklifts and stuff like that, and it's fine for that type of purpose. But
on the open road, it does not work.
There's no power. There's no power.
There's also no place to fill it up.
Right, that's the other problem too. The only thing I would ever consider, and it would have to be like a true Armageddon situation. All right, it would have to be a true meltdown of every system. I would go the thumper, the fat sweaty guy. I would go his route, and I would just brew my own fuel.
Still your own, yeah.
Right? I'd drill out all the jets on my shit and run like moonshine through it, right? And be good to go. That is the only alternative fuel I would consider using on a regular car.
Danny Boyd says, I could carb swap my 3-valve, but where the heck would I put the Dizzy? Oh, you just answered. Oh, yeah. So there's actually, it's like Tony was saying, the belt drive one, right? Or those engines, they actually have like MSD makes a box that plugs into the factory cam and crank sensor that gives you the ignition.
Yeah, but then you're dealing with like
another computer.
The silliness of modern MSD stuff.
Yeah. But yes, a distributor, you know, matter of fact, There was a company, I think it might be Pace Performance is the first place I've seen it, or maybe at what's the Alky Digger in Nashville?
Yeah, Mike Chiliando.
Right. They had a timing cover for an LS that had a distributor hole in it.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, oh, how neat is that? Right. They were wanting to run magneto on it, right? Because it was meant for, but you could literally put a magneto, or I mean, not a magneto, you could literally put a regular distributor in there and run like a HEI distributor on an LS motor.
Well, for the late Hemi, they have what they call a chip killer, which is a front drive distributor.
Really?
It's a timing cover and a gear that bolts to the front of the camshaft.
Huh.
So it's actually set up like a Buick.
Oh, like the stuff I'm messing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's expensive. It's
really
expensive. Yeah, the swap was like $3,000.
Oh,
The cover,
wow.
the distributor, yeah.
But man, would it run good for probably a long time.
Matt asks, Tony, why not build that Magnum Head 273, put it in Kathy's dart, then you could use a Magnum intake setup with a factory EFI and we get killer gas mileage. I couldn't, I'm weird like that, right? I couldn't put a 273 in a 72 car. So it'd have to be based on a 318.
60s car.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, and then again, I have the dart that Stubby's driving right now is a 273. It's a 67 dart. So maybe we could do something with that. Stubby's saying, they experimented with natural gas propane AC systems. It actually worked, but it was still scary as hell because of the pressure it was under. Well, that was when there was a Freon shortage. They were using propane.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in campers they still use that.
Do they?
Yeah.
For the AC?
Well, not the AC, for the refrigerators.
Okay, yeah, for the refrigerators. But when there was a Freon shortage about 15, maybe 20 years ago, or thereabouts.
When they were shifting from 12 to 134.
Yeah, whatever the situation was, but I remember people using propane.
Yeah.
I was a little crazy because you get a leak and it's like,
right. Campers have R90 for their refrigerator. Mine runs off of propane.
Will Pigeon wants to know, how's that 300 Buick?
I haven't moved any further forward on it. I did mount the 350 Buick head on the 300, and the port is a half-inch taller and the same width, right? Half-inch taller. That's nuts, right? The high port head. I'm gonna get it to work. I'm gonna do some more stuff on this 300 Buick with a 350 head. Half an inch, God.
Danny Boyd saying he's charged a few AC cars with propane. It's R90. Propane has an R number. Interesting.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
I didn't know either. I know it was done, but I thought it was a bootleg thing. I didn't think there was actually a deal for that. What's going on, Big Tree Productions in the house?
Oh, man. Those guys are probably having fun up there in Iowa right now, and it's not 100 degrees there. No, maybe it might be. I don't have no idea.
Darwin Forster says campers use ammonia in the refrigerator. But it's crazy, right? How many different uses for...
Well, all you're doing is compressing it, and it has to have the same properties. When you decompress it, it cools, right? UTG, you can't beat mechanical components. They want the old stuff gone. I think that's why they're going after all this stuff, and the gas prices are so high, because all the old stuff really won't get great mileage, so it's just going to sit.
Doobie is saying, did we build an engine for Chrysler 300 at the old shop? Yeah, we think it was a 413. Let's see. Belt drive distributor or OptiSpark? I would go with the belt drive. The OptiSpark is such a pain in the ass.
That thing's so, well, okay. It was a great idea, but the way it was implemented from Chevrolet, it was junk. It had the weep hole from the fucking water pump on top of the distributor.
Yeah.
Like, it's weeping onto the distributor. And OptiSpark works off of, get this, optics. It has to be able to see a light through the hole for it to send a spark signal, right? Like when you could have just had something like a Hall effect sensor on there. No, we got this OptiSpark, and then it's got water running inside there. So pour water in your eye, and how well can you see? That's the problem with the OptiSpark. 68 degrees here in Washington. Damn. Okay. Well, yeah, you can keep that one too. But I would trade you right now for some 68 degrees.
Peter Kovacs, back in the 50s, they had natural gas powered refrigerators with a pilot light.
Oh, wow.
How would that work? How does that work?
I don't know. It's burning something. Maybe it's compressing it as it has a heat under it, right?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Shop Cat Industry is saying, like how you aren't allowed to park a propane vehicle on underground parking, even though gasoline fumes are hundreds times more dangerous and volatile. They're not explosive, really.
And the problem, you're talking about a parking structure, right? So if the propane leaks in a parking structure, it captures it with the roof above, right? And then it ignites and it freaking blows the whole place up.
There's a big difference between woof and boom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Big difference between woof and boom. You can live through woof a bunch of times. You only make it through boom if you're lucky.
Yeah. As it collapses your lungs and
right.
Oh man. Yeah, so you remember that TV show that used to be on old Orange County Choppers?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Well, every now and then the old man would show his he used to be like some kind of steel welder back in the day, like building metal buildings, right? Yeah. And he would trick everybody and put acetylene in a pipe.
Okay.
And it would sit there for minutes, right? And then you would light it when somebody's walking by and it'd be like, pow! Right? That's the same principle as when the propane leaks out into your parking garage, except for it's not a pipe. It's literally like a whole entire parking garage.
We used to make balloons with the acetylene.
Did you?
We'd fill up balloons with acetylene and
light them up.
Yeah.
Old man on Boyd Coddington did that. Huh? Oh, all right. I didn't know that either.
Acetylene bombs and welders fireworks. Yep.
Danny Boyd says, and Paul Sr. knew how to pronounce idea.
Peter Kovacs, how about those crazy guys that blow themselves up for a living, being close to the boom, won't rip you to pieces? So I used to know a fellow named Benny the Bomb. Okay. So back when I was doing the funny card thing, we would get booked into these, thrill shows, match races, and they'd have, 6 funny cars, and then they'd have 2 jet cars, 4 jet cars, and then they would have like the stuff, and Benny the Bomb was one of them. So after it was the last thing that
he would be part of the booked show,
right? So his thing was he would blow himself up in a coffin. So he explained how it worked, and it would put 6 sticks of dynamite in the coffin with him. Okay. But they were all of the explosives were all around him in such a way that then when they went off, the explosion was all
out. It's like shape charge.
It was a shape charge, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So he put him in a coffin with these 6 sticks of dynamite, blow him up, right? And he would just like get up and just like, yay, I'm all good, right? There was one time, I wonder if Franco's here. Franco, were you here? Because I'm sure you remember this, right? There was one time one of the sticks of dynamite rolled out of position and it got him. Okay. So he got out of this thing. He had a helmet. He took the helmet and there was blood coming out of his ears.
Oh my God. Well, I guess you walked that fine line. You remember there was a movie similar to that. It was probably like late 60s, early 70s, The Duke, right? He did a movie where he was a firefighter at an oil well.
Okay.
In the oil wells, they would catch on fire when they drill them, right? And his job was to go up there with like a bucket of dynamite and blow it up, and the explosion would push all the air away,
right.
and the fire would go out. And that was such a cool movie. It's like, who the hell would have that job? You want to talk about health insurance?
Standing Foot says,
The Hellfighter. That's what it was called.
Standing Foot says, I'm one of his heroes, and I passed the test. What? I didn't know I was being tested. What? How did I? What test did I pass? Charlotte Quillen says it was called Hellfighters.
Right. Yeah, that's what somebody else said. They said it's
Okay.
John Wayne's best movie. Also, it was a freaking cool movie. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but it was a really cool movie.
What's Red there?
I don't know.
Right, yeah, Thumper's saying that's how they put out the oil well fires in Kuwait. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh, really? I did not know that. When they burned all the wells, when the Iraqis burned all the wells,
Yeah,
that's
they
how they
use
put it out.
explosives to.
I did not know that. I remember watching the videos where it was those plumes of black, like huge plumes of black smoke.
Godzilla versus Hellfighters. That could be a good movie. Godzilla versus anything is good, really, if you stop and you think about it.
But it's got to be the old Godzilla. The new stuff just doesn't have the flash and the flare. Hellfighters had Green Berets cast in the movie. Oh, that's freaking cool.
There hasn't been really good Godzilla since like we fought Rodan and Mothra.
So late 60s,
middle 60s, late 60s. Yeah, and then Godzilla just jumped the shark. You know.
Well, you know when it jumped the shark was when they brought it to became mainstream. When it was the B movies that everybody expected.
Right.
They were great, man. I mean, and they actually had pretty neat storyline. But when it became mainstream, and you're right, they tried to appeal it to a smaller crowd, to a younger crowd.
Yeah, Godzilla jumped the shark with Son of Godzilla. Okay, and then from that point, Godzilla wasn't the bad guy anymore. Now Godzilla was the good guy that was, protecting against all of these space things like Ghidorah.
Right. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Ghidorah was good.
Yeah. That's the three-headed one.
Right? Yeah. Monster Zero. Right. Monster Zero is right. There you go.
Rending slant six with a chance of cannonballs. You didn't miss much. We already covered how much sniper sucks. What's the other things that we covered? Quadra jets are cool. Let's see. Put GT40P heads on your 289. I think you're up to speed now. Oh, and Godzilla movies suck past the Son of Godzilla.
Gamera with the turtle was your favorite? I never really, no, see, I didn't get that.
I got a bunch of those movies on DVD, and it came out as a whole monster movie set.
Okay.
Do you remember, like, I don't know, you might not even pay attention to it. WGN used to be the Chicago channel, was on cable in the 80s. I want to say Saturday or Sunday, they had like a monster movie, like a creepy dude would come in and say, "Today's show." Right. And they had one monster movie. I can't figure out what it is, but it was like guys drilling an oil. They had an oil rig up on the side of a mountain, and they were drilling sideways into the side of this mountain, and they pulled it out, and blood came out, and there was some freaking big monster living under that mountain.
Ah, that was I know the one you're talking about.
That was such a cool ass movie.
I know the one you're talking about. What the hell was the name of that one?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out forever. I remember watching that when I was probably like 7 or 8 years old.
That was an English movie. Yeah. It was
Creature Feature. Yeah. Channel 9, WGN Channel 9.
It was like an English version of Rodan.
Was it?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. You're going back 50 years now. Then I'm trying to remember this. Three Heads is Monster Zero. Yeah, but he's also known as Ghidorah.
Well, there you go. Tony, what about Giants of Kandahar?
No, I never saw it. Is that how they found Nancy Pelosi? Drilling into the side of a mountain? Quite possibly.
They hit her in the vodka bottle.
What the hell was the name of that movie?
That's gonna drive you nuts.
Yeah, no, I know the one you're talking about.
It was a black and white, right?
Yeah, but it was a cheap ripoff of Rodan.
Was it?
Yeah.
I have some. I have some cheap rip-off ones. I'll have to go back and look at it and see if I can find something similar. I must have 80 of those monster movies from the 50s and 60s on DVD. And I got given to me as a gift on a gift exchange for a command. And I've never watched them all. Used to watch them with my kids, and my kids were like, "These movies are scary and terrible." And I'm like, "Oh, that's what made them great."
Sherlock Holmes says U.S. soldiers killed a giant in Desert Storm. I don't think they were snuffing Nephilim in. No, I don't buy that. Monster from the Surf. It came from under the sea.
Oh, that could have been it.
No,
because this was it. They were in like a forest, and they were drilling those oil wells.
Svengoolie is still on TV.
Shopcat Industry says, "Amen." Danny Boyd, I miss the Beastie Boys. Hey, I tell you what, they got a documentary on Apple TV Plus or something, Apple Plus, whatever it is. I watched it; it was pretty good. Beastie Boys. I don't know if you ever got into them guys. They did.
The Beastie Boys, yeah, they were okay. They were all right.
They were from your neck of the woods, weren't they?
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes, how cool you know about the Nephilim? I know about a lot of stuff. I know about a lot of stuff.
But Tony knows a lot about like weird things that people normally wouldn't. I didn't know that you were even going to know about the Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah.
You don't watch movies all that much at all.
No, I hate movies. I was born with that suspension of disbelief. But I like Godzilla movies.
Because you knew they were corny and fake to begin with, right? But
not the original one. The original. Did you ever see the original one?
It's actually really good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really good.
That was the one with Raymond Burr.
Oh, I don't remember him being in there. I bet he probably was.
He was the star. He was a reporter from the United States. And because what it was okay. The original Godzilla was a fuck you to the United States.
Right. Yeah. It was actually about all the nuclear leakage into the Pacific Ocean, right? And do you know how that really started off? I'll tell you something cool. You ever heard of Wake Island?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the Pacific, there's all these little islands. Well, if you go all the way far south, Wake Island is like another island chain off of Hawaii, right? But if you go farther south, where they had like Leyte Gulf and all that stuff, okay, and even further south, and they got the place they called the Slot from World War II.
Okay.
That was in the Solomon Island atolls.
Okay.
Well, down there in one of those islands, that's where they tested all the nuclear weapons after World War II, right? Well, they had one that they had built, and it was supposed to be like a small bomb. But what happened, it was like an air detonation, and it vaporized all the water around it, which then in turn caused another reaction.
I've seen that with those ships.
Yes, yes.
I've seen that.
That thing burned Japanese fishermen like 40 miles away, burned like half their bodies, right, on this boat. And that's where that whole story started. Yeah. The Bikini Island Atoll. There you go.
Man, it's 1954 Godzilla King of the Monsters. Yeah. That was a really dark movie.
I have no idea where bikinis come from. James Bond, Dr. No.
John S., is it worth fine-tuning a dual point with a dwell meter versus just a feeler gauge the point? Yeah, just put a piece of paper in between the one set of points, set your first set, then switch the piece of paper and set the other set.
So here's a little bit more information. The Marshall Islands is what it's called, and it's called Castle Bravo, 18 megaton warhead, right? But that's where the ones where you see, those are actually the Japanese warships from World War II they captured, and they wanted to test the nuclear weapons on them. And that's the one that has that huge explosion with the ships going up the side. That was the unsinkable ship, the Japanese battleship.
Right.
Yeah.
Bikini Island also has a lot of jokes in SpongeBob.
Well, that incident is what caused that started the whole thing, the big FU to the United States on nuclear weaponry, right? Started the whole Godzilla thing. It was supposed to be that bomb from the Bikini Island atolls that woke up Godzilla, that created Godzilla.
Ari's here. Ari's in the house. What's happening, brother man?
Yep, you're right, Thumper. They did do a whole bunch of ships. Some of them were ours, some of them were theirs. Yeah, there you go. Yamato and Musashi. Oh no, the Yamato was there.
Oh, I don't know.
That's the unsinkable battleship, right? I'm pretty sure it is. That one's on there. That's the one that's actually going up the side.
Nicholas Agnew, what about all the UFOs right after we started messing with nukes? Oh, no, man, they were around before then. But they started, okay, post-nuke, they started really, 1947 was like when you had that big flap, you had the Roswell thing and all of that. 53, you had the deal over the White House. Yeah, so, yeah, they started becoming a little more prevalent after the nukes, but they were around before then.
So, when was Area 51? Right? Was that in the 50s or is that in the 40s?
The which?
51, where they had the UFO that was down.
Area 51?
Yeah, you
We still have it.
Well, no, I know. I'm talking about when was that crash landing? The Roswell incident.
1947.
Right? 47. Okay,
yeah.
So it was right after World War II.
Yeah, actually, it was July 1947.
July 1947.
Yeah.
I just remember. You remember like 2 years ago when everybody was going to bum rush in Area 51.
Yeah.
Whatever happened with that?
They ran out of steam. They got scared away by the signs, I guess. French onion. Do you think aliens still use carburetors? Not at the G-forces. No. They're beyond that.
Yeah. Well, just take a Holly off road and you'll find out at what 1G does to it.
And as Kathy reminds us here, this is not financial advice.
Oh, where were we talking financial advice?
It's just a disclaimer I have to throw in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this the new thing?
Yes.
Okay.
They use Mr. Fusion.
Yeah, but they do. Man, I can't remember. I looked this up probably 10 years ago. That whole incident actually has a name.
Which?
That nuclear bombing incident.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And I can't remember what the name of it is, but I'm telling you, it lists all the ships that were there, but I'm pretty sure that the Yamato was there, or one of the unsinkable Japanese aircraft, or not aircraft carriers, it was a battleship.
But yeah, the wrench is saying no atmosphere in space, so carb no work. Yeah, that's the truth. You really would not be able to use a carburetor in space. It wouldn't be possible. Now, it's possible that they could switch to carburation once they entered our atmosphere, but no, not for infrastructure.
Fair enough. Charlotte Coolin straightened me out, saying that no, the Yamato was not there.
Olive is saying probably a big reason I like fuel injection and like lateral G's. Okay, that makes sense, Olive.
Saying that Yamato is sunk in Leyte Gulf. Okay.
Let's see. Or is this for entertainment purposes only? Yes. This is for entertainment purposes only.
You know what? It did take my description out at the beginning because we had to restart it all, right?
That's right.
It said it covers cars, trucks, buses, mailboxes. Mm-hmm. There was a whole bunch of stuff listed off in there. And if it's not in that stuff, it's a disclaimer.
Which reminds me, this is for external use only.
External. Don't put it internally.
Only. It's Kiwi. See, we talk about Godzilla and we talk about whether aliens use carburetor or not, and Kiwi pops up. Coincidence? There are no coincidences.
Maybe that's why the UFOs started popping up after World War II.
Kiwi would know, but Kiwi would keep it to himself. He's, Kerry Worthington, Philadelphia experiment, any thoughts? I go both ways on that. there's a lot. So when you combine the Philadelphia thing with all of the weirdness of Montauk, yeah, it gives some credence to it, but I don't know for sure. I don't know.
Did I ever tell you about the piece of equipment I worked on in the Navy?
No.
It was very simple. It was DC voltage, right?
Okay.
It was 80 volts DC.
Okay.
It powered stuff. Okay. It was 3,375 amps.
Ouch.
And when I opened the cabinet up, there's just capacitors after capacitors after capacitors, right?
That's
and
a constant amperage, or is that
that's under load draw? But it can do that. It can actually go more than that, but that's what it used to produce at a constant level.
What kind of arc would that throw?
Well, okay. So interesting enough, when I went to school, they'd send you what they call A school, which gives you like the basic understanding of your job, and then C school, which is specific of the equipment you're going to work on, right? So when I first started C school, we all went down to the waterfront in San Diego,
okay,
and they took us to a ship to tour. Well, the ship was getting ready to decommission, and it was an older ship, and the master chief took us down to the where this power supply was, and he's like, "You guys want to see something really cool?" Well, he had an older version of what we had. We had like ours was all done with just a regular electronic components. They had a motor generator,
okay,
right? And we're like, "Yeah, sure, man. You show us something cool." So he's like, "All right, hit the lights over there." And you know what a shorting probe is? You ever seen like somebody climb a pole and they're going to hook on the pole and make it start?
Yeah.
So they got to short it to ground so they can hook into it and then take the shorting probe off.
Right.
We have those for the capacitors because it'd be like, most people buy a capacitor that might be like a microfarad or a 1 picofarad, right? This was like 400 farads, right? It's big as that piston around, but like this tall.
Right.
And I mean, it's the stuff that will turn you into a gelatinous blob if you touched it. This dude ran that shorting probe down the side of the motor generator and threw a lightning bolt of like 6 feet in the air that was purple.
Oh,
this kid pissed his pants and ran out of space.
Oh, God. Hey, Nelson, Tony, what are those fans you have on? I need to get new glasses and like what you're rocking. Dollar Tree, man. Dollar Tree. I go to Dollar Tree and I buy like 20, 30 pairs of these at a time.
That's what I do.
And I leave them everywhere.
I lose them, drop them, destroy them. I do the same thing.
I'm not exaggerating one bit when I say I have like over 100 pairs of these, and they're everywhere. I leave them everywhere. And needless to say, I'm always looking for a pair of glasses to throw out.
That's true. I can vouch for it. We literally show up in here, we're getting ready to do the show, and he's like, "Where's my glasses?" I don't know. He'll have to walk around the shop, and it doesn't matter who goes looking for them. You always come back with a pair, right? Because they're literally everywhere. But I got the same problem. I mean, what are those? Plus 1.5, 175?
These are 175.
Okay, that's where I'm at is 175s, but
let's see. Otto saying the military has had tech for decades that most would not believe possible. Yeah, I agree.
And just weird stuff. It's because it's made for one application that most people don't normally deal with, right? Like you see like an RF generator, okay? But if you have an RF generator, how do you track somebody else that's having an RF receiver, right? And so it doesn't apply in the civilian community. I guess the only place that it really applies would be like the police force. Some of the police force, the Coast Guard does a lot of the stuff that's similar, but they still don't even have all the same equipment.
Tony, Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, I don't know about it. I honestly don't know.
Oh, are you familiar with it?
I'm very familiar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the jury is out as to whether or not I don't know. I don't know. I know something occurred, but I don't know what it was.
Well, that's what got me on that story was every time I opened that cabinet, I see all those caps lined up in there, and then you'd open the door, and the static electricity in the room would be so high, your hair would stand up on your neck and your arms.
The ozone from.
And you're like, fuck Philadelphia experiment, right? Like, I'm not touching that thing.
Let's see. Screaming Seaman, UT. My dad was a retired Air Force colonel, and he always told me that he didn't trust who he worked for. That's a very common theme, man. That's a very common theme. Let's see.
Somebody's asking you if WPAFB haunted.
I don't know.
I don't know what WPA. I'm sure that Air Force Base is. I got that. I don't know what WP is.
Thumper is saying, I do not trust the government. I worked for them for years. Tony, is WPAFB haunted? I don't know what WAF. Say it, and but it's not.
Well, Anthony Perna says, Dallas, I'm teaching myself to fix old vacuum tube TVs and radios, and I can tell you firsthand, old caps hold a lot of juice. You know, we used to take them little caps and we'd charge them up on a megger, and then we would throw them in somebody's rack on a ship. So when they climbed in there in the middle of the night, they'd get pow, right? Like, and it would shock the crap out of them. But that was just the kind of dumb, fun stuff that we used to do. But yeah, I don't trust the government. I mean, after I retired from the Navy, I went down to the VA, and it's like, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, please step forward. You have nothing wrong with you. And you're like, hey, well, I came in here because I was having a heart attack. Yep, nothing's wrong with you. See you tomorrow, right? And you're like, what kind of freaking service is this crap? Oh, right.
Patterson. Is it haunted? I don't know if it's haunted or not.
Yes.
But yeah, why do you say that?
I'm just gonna.
You're just gonna go with yes.
Yeah.
Wright-Patterson is supposedly where they took all of the alien bodies after the Roswell thing, as well as there were other recovery things and God, there's a whole list of crashes. Like the Roswell is the one that everybody refers to, but there's probably a dozen or so like rumored crashes of various alien craft, and supposedly Wright-Patterson is where they take
all of those UFO pieces.
Well, they take the organic material there, and they take the actual
physical UFO
stuff to Area 51, Groom Lake.
I bet you could build a really wicked dragster at Area 51.
Well, I mean, Bob Lazar is a drag racer. A lot of people don't realize that.
Huh.
Bob Lazar he's run jet cars. He was a jet car guy. And he had a jet car with aliens all painted on the tail section of it. Employees say that it's haunted to the gills. That's possible.
Lazy A-Hole Ranch says, my dude has a friend who no longer has a belly button after a VA surgery.
Nice. I mean, but did he really need it? I mean,
I guess he can't be identified by his belly button if after a fire.
Franco's saying everything went to Wright-Patterson. Are you sure about that, bro? Because it's possible. It's possible.
China just discovered a possible signal from an alien civilization using their huge radio dish, the largest in the world. Well, hey, the neat things going on right now in the world where Russia is invading Ukraine, right? Ukraine used to be all the place where the Russians put all of the hardcore equipment from the Cold War. And the other day they were doing a video did you ever see that giant radio and that radar antenna in the Ukraine?
Yeah.
The largest in the world, right? And it was meant for like low frequency radio waves, right? And this thing is 8 stories tall and a half a mile long. And it just makes me wonder, that stuff cannot be good for anything on the planet.
So there's a lot of stuff there.
Exactly. How long have the Russians really been attacking the Ukrainians? Because you know what? I'll guarantee you somebody built a house right in the path of that thing and no one ever cared, right? Man, they had a lifespan only 3.5 years.
Zero saying he had a ghost experience on the Queen Mary while working there for the Ink and Iron Festival with 2 other dudes. Fun shit, no explanation other than weird. Bro, my house in New York was haunted. So, I mean, I been there, done it, got the T-shirt.
Did you live in Amityville?
No, that was my cousin Ronnie.
Oh, I think you did tell me that story, that they really had the Amityville house, right?
My cousin Ronnie is Ronald DeFeo. Butch Ronald, that's the kid who's left his family.
All right.
Stubby saying, Tony, I thought you were there at the alien crash lane pulling parts off the ship. Dude, when I was younger, if there was any way that I could have used UFO parts to go faster, believe me, I would have been there. You know what I'm saying? I would have been there. I'm past that now. I'm way past
that. Edward Brett says a really good point here. Aliens travel across the barren, hostile universe at light speed, yet lose control and crash on Earth. Good one.
Well, they don't actually do that. See, what we consider to be space and distance are not actually space and distance.
They fold the universe. Aren't they interdimensional?
And they are interdimensional. And there are many different species of them, and a lot of them actually come from here.
Terrence Moss asks, how are the car parts quality for you?
So far, not so hot. Uh-oh, Kathy's saying LOL. I'm in trouble.
Did you give financial advice again?
This is not financial advice.
Maybe that's what it is. He's saying, Danny Boyd's saying Dallas, they stopped at a bar while here.
Right.
Right. Do aliens use EFI? I would go on a limb and say no.
They're not using carburetors.
They're not broke down all that often. They're not broke down.
They probably use Howie snipers, and that's where they're crashing all the time.
Yeah. Fall right out of space. 351 Cleveland thoughts. Best hardcore small block ever built. For drag racing purposes, motorsports, I guess, in general. Look at every rule book, and that motor is outlawed, right? Or it carries the most weight penalty than anything. Actually, I was looking at this 2 years ago. The Hemi in NHRA competition in pro stock was carrying like 7.1 pounds, right?
Okay.
I'm assuming that's of extra weight per cubic inch, right? 7.1. That was their factor. That was their weight factor. The Cleveland was 7.3, right? I'm like, holy crap. And what was even more sad is that they had lumped all the Buick Olds and Pontiac together, and they were 7.5, and nobody ever even ran one. And it's like, that's what always made me wonder is like, how the hell did they get that weight factor on? Is it because no one was lobbying against them getting weight? Because nobody ever ran those in pro stock. Buick Olds Pontiac, there was one Pontiac or Oldsmobile that I'm aware of ran in pro stock, and it was an AHRA pro stock, and it was like a 78 or 9 Firebird, right? And the guy ended up winning this that year, but it was a 403 Oldsmobile.
Well, when Warren Johnson was running Oldsmobiles, he had actually taken a block.
That was the DRCE. And
hollowed
it, right?
Before the DRCE, the prototype to that was he used a diesel block,
yeah,
and hollowed the thing out
and put all Chevrolet
cylinder walls. Yeah, exactly. He hollowed the block out and built. He out of welding rod built a big black Chevy inside of the Oldsmobile. Aliens keep abducting Vince W's lighters. Don't you hate it when that happens? Screaming Steven, UT, have you been inside the Amityville house before? No, I was never in the house, and there was like a break in the family before. This all happened when I was a little kid.
Jerry Bodwin saying, what makes the Cleveland so good and outlawed? It's the cannon valves, man. And you ever seen the ports on one of those? Mm-hmm. The ports are enormous. And Ford must have done their homework, because the Ford racing applications, that port, the velocity of it is actually like pinpointed to where that engine makes power, right? They did some serious homework on it. But that's where they really like to live, around 8,000 up. But I think they had oiling issues. Isn't that what it was? They had oiling issues with the Clevelands.
I'm not sure.
But it's the cannon valves, the chamber shape,
the size. They copied the big black Chevy, and that's the truth. That's the truth.
So Cleveland or big block Ford? Well, they're one's a 335 series and one's a 385 series, right? But they were actually they share the rocker arms, and there's a bunch of little pieces that they share. It's the design is kind of similar across both of them.
Franco is saying Garlis told us stuff 50 years ago that has since been public knowledge. That I know for a fact, because the only conversations I ever had with Garlis was about UFOs. We went back and
He's
forth.
a big UFO believer.
Yeah, well, he sent me a lot of stuff back in, 2003, 2004. We were in regular correspondence for a little while, and it was just had nothing to do with cars, just UFO stuff.
Dada LeBreton asked, what carb size fed the 351 Cleveland? I don't know. I would have assumed one of those big.
It was 780 Holly.
780 Holly? Didn't they have a big Autolite, like 950 Autolite?
Oh, not on the 351.
I know that some of the Fords, performance Fords around that time actually had quad jets on.
Somebody will know exactly. Yeah, that was the 428 or 429.
He wants to know if they ran a Holly or a quad jet on the UFOs.
Oh, Holly or quad jet. I think the temperatures would be a little, and the bowl is small on a quad jet. I'm going to say they went with Hollies. Franco's saying, Tony, I live near the 35th parallel. I live near the 35th parallel. The 37th is the ET highway. I haven't seen anything since I'm here. But then again, I don't really go looking for it either.
I haven't seen anything here.
No. No,
Zero.
Me and my friend Louis Scum actually chased a UFO. Well, we're not chased it like, we're going to, catch this thing. But we followed a UFO all across Staten Island, right to the waterfront, and we watched this thing go between, on the Verrazano Bridge. It's got the two towers there. And we actually watched this thing. We followed it from one end of Staten Island to the other. And we watched this thing go through the uprights of the tower. Like, it was that close to the ground. And then we watched it hang like a slow right. And it went over like what would be the Belt Parkway heading up towards Queens.
Did I tell you, like, that bridge, is that the one that goes to Queens?
Yeah, no, the Verrazano goes to Brooklyn.
Which one goes? What's Queens? It separates Queens, and you got to get out of that and go to.
There's a bunch of bridges up there.
I had to pick up some Navy equipment, right? Truck, big 5-ton truck. It had a governor at 45, and I had to cross that bridge. There was people like fucking yelling, "Get the fuck off the road!" Like, oh my god, what the hell? And everybody was happy until I had to drive that truck across that bridge.
Darwin Forster says, you won't see anything unless you're on the shrooms. Yeah. Fab Race Mod Repeat says the Cleveland is a scaled down 429. And both of them are essential copies of the Big Block Chevy. And the Big Block Chevy is a copy of the Chrysler Polyhead. So
that's why I think the Poly did make a freaking awesome hot rod motor.
It's just the ports. The ports aren't the exhaust
port's terrible.
It's just a water. It was never intended to be a performance engine the way we know performance engines today. It was supposed to be a torque engine, and the exhaust ports on the polyheads are restrictive. They face down, like, in other words, like it's just not a good.
It's like my Buick small block heads,
and they're surrounded by water jackets, so you really can't port them.
Oh,
you can't really change direction on them very much. I studied a polyhead once to try to figure out if I could get something out of it, and I was like, nah, not worth it. But that was a long time ago.
I wonder if you can plate them like they used to do in Pro Stock.
There are guys
up.
There are guys that get good horsepower out of them though now. You know what I mean? There's I can't think of it.
Well, the reason why I see that is a lot of the older stuff is being revisited today because the new stuff has been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and it's expensive, right? Mm-hmm. There was guys out in San Diego when I was out there that were running Y-block Fords. Y-blocks. I would have never thought I'd seen a Y-block that performed because the ports are like the opposite of the way they should be, right? They're laying on top of each other. And these things were running 620s in the 8th in a Y-block. Y-block motor, like, that's like 650 horse, 700 horse.
With that weird ass intake.
I just don't get it. But if you can make a Y block Ford run, you can certainly make a poly.
Yeah, Darwin Foster. Bruce Toft is getting 550 horsepower out of poly engines. Yeah, he put the time in and figured science on them. So yeah, he's making really good power. All right, guys, we're at the 2 hour mark.
Jeez, that flew by.
That flew. Oh God. Okay, Dallas, what do you got to plug?
I need to plug the AHRA. Go get yourself some merchandise, or buy even if you just buy a fan only membership. That's the kind of stuff that supports us to put on the No Name Nationals and events like that. So get out there and get to work. Get yourself an AHRA membership or buy some merch.
What about the No Name Nationals?
No Name Nationals. John Wilburn and I will be live Friday
Oh
on
my
John
God.
Wilburn's channel discussing the new things, the new developments that have happened in the past 2 weeks.
I will not do a freaking thing all day Friday just so that there's no chance of me not seeing that live.
Focused. Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to go. Friday morning, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go sit in my bathtub with the lights off.
Well, we're going to go through who's are going to be our announcers, and you might already know who they are.
I don't know. But I will, like I said, I will sit quietly in the dark in my bathtub waiting for that live to come on. And I'll do that only so that I know that nothing can stop me from being there for that live.
I don't blame you. That's what I'm going to do before I go live on the channel. But yeah, so I guess anything else that you need to plug? You guys got your merch back up and being sold on Teespring?
Yes, the merch is all being sold on Teespring. If you happen to run into Mopar Al, he just finished the part in Alabama. Now they're going to Florida. I don't know, wherever the hell Power Tour goes in Florida, and then they're going up to Atlanta. So if you happen to run across Mopar Al and Slaghammer, he's got merch that he's selling, and that's how he's paying for the gas. So like
get out there and support Al.
Support Al, right?
And by the way, they're not stopping at Atlanta Motor Speedway though.
They're not,
because it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, right? They're doing something in Atlanta.
Maybe they're at Summit. They're probably at Summit parking lot.
I have no idea. So that's all that's going on with that. So Tony, did Steve Evans really smoke 5 packs a day? I don't know. I only met him once or twice.
Nestor's Garage is asking how much power I think a 4-liter Rover with a cam can make through 215 4-barrel induction system with headers. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 300 horse.
All right. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, guys, thank you. Everybody contributed Super Chat. Thank you so much. It's what keeps the wheels turning, keeps us in business. Thank you so much. Everybody who contributed just with your presence and your conversation and your contributions. Thank you equally. We appreciate everybody who's part of this community, the greatest automotive community in all of YouTubedom. Right here. This is the nucleus of it all.
It. Yeah.
Right. So thank you all. Our mods, Ari, John, Fubar, Zero. Thank you guys. Thank you. And I'll be back Sunday night. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Sunday night.
And he'll be back next Wednesday night. And I guess that's it, guys. I'm gonna pull the plug. All right. That's it.
Yep, that's it. That's all I have.
That's it.
I'll see you guys next week.
I'm out. I'm out of bullets. It's over. Good night, guys.